Humans built cities. We invented the internet. We've been to the moon. We pretty much decided at some point that we're in charge, top of the food chain, masters of the planet, the most important species on Earth. And honestly, most of us just never questioned that. But here's the thing. While you've been walking around completely confident in that assumption, the animals around you have been forming their own opinion. The crow on that lamppost already has a file on you. The dog at the end of the street, read your emotional state before you even walked past. The pigeons you ignored on the sidewalk, they clocked you, categorized you, moved on. We think we're the ones doing the observing, but animals have been quietly studying humans for thousands of years, and what they've found might be the most honest assessment of our species that has ever existed. Because animals don't care about your achievements. They don't care about your status. They only care about one thing. What kind of creature are you really? Let's find out what they think. Let's start with the animal that has spent more time studying humans than any other species on the planet. The dog. Dogs have lived alongside humans for over 15,000 years. That's longer than agriculture, longer than writing, longer than most civilizations that have ever existed. And in that time, they've become extraordinarily good at reading us. In 2015, researchers at Asabu University in Japan discovered something that genuinely surprised the scientific community. When a dog and its owner made sustained eye contact, both of their oxytocin levels rose simultaneously. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same chemical a mother's brain releases when she holds her newborn child for the first time. Two completely different species, one moment of eye contact, the same biological response. But here's what makes dogs truly remarkable observers of humans. Dogs can distinguish 16 different human facial expressions. They process our faces using the right hemisphere of the brain, the same hemisphere humans use to read each other emotionally. They know the difference between a real smile and a fake one. They detect stress hormones in your sweat before you've even consciously registered that you're stressed. They notice changes in your breathing, your posture, your pace, and that head tilt. When your dog cocks its head to the side, researchers at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest found that dogs do this to better map your face into their visual field. They're not being adorable, they're trying to read you more accurately. So what does a dog actually think of humans? After 15,000 years of careful observation, a dog's conclusion seems to be these creatures are complicated, emotional, unpredictable, sometimes sad for no obvious reason, but worth understanding completely and worth staying loyal to, no matter what. Now let's talk about the animal that seems completely unbothered by us, the cat. Here's a fact that reframes everything you think you know about cats. Adult cats almost never meow at other cats. Seriously, cat-to-cat communication is almost entirely body language, scent marking, and occasional low vocalizations. The meow? That's not cat language. Researcher Karen McComb at the University of Sussex spent years studying this. Her conclusion: cats developed a specialized set of vocalizations almost entirely to communicate with humans. Over thousands of years of living with us, cats noticed something important. When they made certain sounds, humans responded. We got up, we opened things, we filled bowls, we came running, so cats refined it. They found the frequencies that triggered the strongest human response. Some cat vocalizations even embed a subtle cry-like frequency, similar to a human infant, because cats learned that sound bypasses our rational brain entirely. It's almost impossible for us to ignore. Your cat didn't learn to live with you. You were trained by a cat, and you didn't even notice. But there's another side to this. When a cat slow blinks at you, closes its eyes slowly, and opens them again, that's not sleepiness. In cat communication, closing your eyes around another creature means you trust them enough to be vulnerable. A cat that slow blinks at you is saying, I feel safe with you. To a cat, humans are large, slow, surprisingly responsive creatures that took a while to train. but were ultimately worth the effort. Now we get to an animal whose opinion of humans goes back further than any living memory. The elephant. In Kenya's Amboseli National Park, researchers ran a study on how elephants responded to different groups of people. When elephants encountered the Maasai people, a community with a long history of conflict with elephants, the reaction was immediate. Stress postures, defensive formations, calves moved to the center of the herd. When they encountered the Kamba people, a farming community with no such history, the elephants remained calm. The researchers pushed further. They presented the elephants with clothing from each group, then scent alone. Same results every time. Elephants weren't reacting to human. They were identifying which human, which community, which history, and then came the part that stopped researchers cold. Young elephants, who had never personally encountered the Maasai, were already showing the same caution. The older elephants had taught them. Elephants are running a generational intelligence archive on humans, updated across decades, passed down through herds, refined over time. And they don't just track threats. Elephants have been documented returning to the locations where trusted human caretakers died, sometimes years later, standing quietly, touching the ground. Scientists classify this as mourning behavior. An elephant doesn't just remember you. If you earned their trust, they carry you with them, long after you're gone. Here's the chapter that should make you slightly uncomfortable every time you walk past a crow. At the University of Washington, researchers wore specific rubber masks while trapping, measuring, and tagging crows on campus. The birds were unharmed, standard research procedure. But when those researchers walked across campus in those masks again, the crows reacted immediately, dive bombing, loud alarm calls, mobbing behavior. They tested it again a week later. Same reaction, a month later, same reaction, 5 years later, still the same reaction. But here's what made this study genuinely extraordinary. Crows that weren't even present during the original study were also reacting to those masks. The information had been communicated, bird to bird, flock to flock, across years, across generations. Crows don't just recognize faces, they maintain individual reputations on specific humans, and they share those reputations with their community. So here's the question you should probably ask yourself. If a crow has been watching you, what has it put in your file? Most wild animals make a fast decision when they encounter a human. Threat, not a threat. Leave. Dolphins don't leave. They approach, they investigate, they linger. Sometimes, they seem to genuinely enjoy it. Researchers believe dolphins are drawn to novelty. New things, unusual things, things that don't fit existing patterns. And humans in the water? We are spectacularly unusual. We're slow. We're clumsy. We need equipment just to breathe underwater. We make strange sounds and trail bubbles everywhere we go. From a dolphin's perspective, we are completely fascinating and completely helpless at the same time. And yet, there are dozens of documented cases of wild dolphins with no training and no reward, intervening when humans were in danger, circling swimmers when sharks approached, guiding exhausted people toward boats, staying close until the threat had passed. No command, no food reward, no reason we can fully explain. The leading scientific theory is empathy, that dolphins recognize suffering in another creature and respond to it, but we genuinely don't know for certain. What we do know is this: dolphins looked at us, clumsy, slow, out of place us, and in many cases, decided we were worth protecting. That might be the most generous opinion any animal has ever formed about our species. So, let's come back to where we started. That person walking down the street, confident, unbothered, certain they're in charge? They have no idea. The crow has already filed them under a category. The dog already knows they're stressed. The pigeons have already decided they're not a threat. And somewhere, an elephant, and I was passing down information about humans like them to the next generation. We built cities and called ourselves the dominant species. We invented language and assumed we were the most sophisticated communicators. We developed science, and for a long time used it to argue that animals were basically just instinct. But the animals were never confused about what we are. A dog sees through your performance, straight to how you actually feel. A cat figured out how to communicate with a completely different species and quietly trained us without us ever realizing it. An elephant runs a multi-generational archive on human behavior. A crow memorizes your face, tracks your actions, and briefs its entire community. A dolphin, for reasons we still don't fully understand, helps us anyway. None of them care about your job. None of them care about your status. None of them are impressed by your achievements. They only ever asked one question: what kind of creature are you really? Not what you say, not what you post, not what you perform. What do you actually do? We spent centuries asking whether animals were intelligent enough to understand us. Turns out, they understood us a long time ago. The real question is, do we understand ourselves as clearly as they understand us?